Now I want to show you how to edit the application itself, like how you can change which fields are displayed and whether you want to hide certain fields or whether you want to make certain fields mandatory or not. So when you're editing the application, you don't need to just pay attention to the field that you want to change. You also want to pay attention to the section that you're in. So right now, this section is called the subject property details section. So you can tell this bar that goes all the way across from one side to another, that's the section. These other ones are like subsections that you see right there. But the ones that go all the way to the edge, that's a section. So this section is the subject property cash flow section. Above that is the subject property details section. Then we have the loan term section and so on and so forth, right? Other new mortgage loans on the property section. So pay attention to the section that you're going to edit and also the fields that you want to edit. And let me refresh this. All right, so now let's look at the application one more time. We're going to select the fix and flip. So now we're looking at the borrower info section. So when you first get your system, it usually looks like this. So you're going to notice that some of these fields have like a yellowish, tannish color to them. Those fields are mandatory fields. And these what other white fields, these are not mandatory. So you'll notice a lot of these are not mandatory when you first come in. So you can decide whether you want to make some mandatory, whether you want to hide some or display different ones. There's over 2,000 different fields that you can choose from to customize your applications. So right now, looking at the borrower info section, we have the last name field, the borrower email field, and the cell phone field are not mandatory fields. And that's something that we suggest maybe, we're looking at the quick app, which is usually that first point of engagement, right? That's the first, usually where that first person is going to interact with your application. So we recommend at least making the borrower email a mandatory field. And you might also consider making your cell phone field a mandatory field, right? And your last name field, that one you'll definitely want to make mandatory as well. And then, so we're going to make those changes. And then in addition to that, you're seeing a field here wanting to collect the cell carrier and preferred communication. And these are good fields to have, but maybe right now for the quick app, maybe we don't need to collect it at the quick app. Maybe those are fields that we do want to collect, but maybe once we send out the full app, right? So the quick app is usually left to be a much shorter application. You just want the minimal amount of information to easily intake a lead into your system and be able to just take in the minimal amount of information about the borrower and the loan scenario, just enough to determine eligibility to see if it's a loan you want to move forward with or can move forward with. And then you can send out the full app to collect all the information from them, right? So fields like a cell carrier field or the preferred communication field, maybe those are better left for the full application. So we'll remove them off the quick app here, but we'll leave them on the full app so we can collect that information from them later. All right, so we're going to make those 5 changes right now just for the borrower info section. So to make these changes, we're going to go back into the back office and we're going to go to settings, platform settings, and form fields. You can also access it by clicking this button up here. So either way. So once you're in your form fields here, you're going to see a list of all the different sections of the application. So when you're looking at your quick app, all these sections, that's what's listed out there. So we know that the section that we want to jump in to edit here, it's called the borrower info section. So we're going to click on that drop down to open up that section. All right. And let me move this down so we can take a look at the headers here. So this first column is the field name right here. And then we have 6 columns. The 3 columns on the left, will determine whether a field is going to be displayed or not on your application. And actually in three different sections. In your private system back office, in your public facing quick app, and your public facing full app. So you get to choose which sections you want fields turned on or turned off in. And then on the three columns to the right of that, those will determine whether the fields that you've chosen to display, whether they're going to be mandatory or not in those same three sections. Your system back office, your public facing quick app, and your public facing full app. So now going back to the application, looking at the changes we wanted to make, which was last name, borrower email, and cell phone. That's the first change we want to make, right? We want to make those mandatory fields. So we're going to go and look for those. Last name, we see that it's displayed in three sections, which is great. It's displayed everywhere in your full app, your quick app, and your back office. But we want to make it mandatory, at least on the full app and the quick app. All right, so we're going to check those boxes under the full app column and under the quick app column. And then same thing for the borrower email. We see it's displayed in all three sections, which is great. But we're going to make that mandatory for the full app and the quick app. And we also want to look for the cell phone field displayed everywhere, which is great. We're going to make those mandatory for the full app and the quick app. Now we could make it mandatory on the back office as well, but I would just say be careful about what you make a mandatory field in your back office, because um, if you make those fields mandatory and somebody calls in and somebody on your team goes in to create a loan and filling out a quick app, and they just got partial information from the caller, the system will not allow you to save and move on unless you have those required fields filled out. So, this is your private back office, your system back office. So you don't need to make that many fields mandatory as much as you would on somebody, on your public facing borrower facing applications. So just be cautious of what you set as mandatory. And so then going back to the application, all right, so we're going to make the last name mandatory, borrower email mandatory, and cell phone mandatory. And then we're going to remove the cell carrier field and the preferred communication field. So for that, we're going to go and look for the cell carrier field is right here. So it's displayed everywhere. And we want to remove it from the quick app, but we want to leave it on the full app. The full app is that first column. So we're going to leave that first checkbox checked, but we're going to look under the quick app column. We're going to remove that checkbox right there. So we're going to remove the cell carrier from the quick app. And we're going to do the same thing for the preferred communication field right here. So we're going to go to the quick app. We're going to remove it from the quick app, but we'll leave it on the full app so we can collect that information from them later. All right, so now we've made all the 5 changes that we wanted to make in this section. So when we're finished making our edits in this section, we're going to scroll down to the bottom of the section and look for that save button. And we're going to click on save. We're going to receive the confirmation here that all the changes were updated successfully. So now we can go back into the application and we can refresh this to check our changes, see how they look now. So we're going to refresh. We're going to answer no here. We're going to select our loan program. So now we're looking at the borrower info section, and we can see that the last name field, the borrower email field, and the cell phone field are now this yellowish tannish color, which means that those are mandatory fields now. And we can also see that the preferred communication fields and the cell phone carrier fields are no longer there. So this is the quick app that we're looking at. If we go to the full app, we will see them there. So now we've successfully made all the changes that we wanted to make to this section. So that's changing the application. That's how simple it is. And you just go section by section, right? and edit and choose and customize your application to make sure you're collecting all the information that you want to make sure you collect from the borrowers. So a couple of other things I want to show you back there. Let's go back into the back office here. So so then you have this column right here all the way to the right. You have the loan program column. And this column allows you to control whether there's certain fields or certain questions that you want to ask on certain loan program applications, but not others, right? So if we look at one of these fields like the borrower email field, for example, right? If we click on where it says click to view loan programs, right there, we see an empty box right there. There's no loan programs in that box. And that's what we want to see when it's a field like the borrower email, which is this type of question or this type of field is something we would want on all loan program applications, regardless of what loan program the borrower has selected. We want to collect that information. So an empty box here is definitely what you want to see when it's that type of field that you want to collect on all loan program applications. If I were to come in here and select two different loan programs, let's say I select this one and this one. So now what the system is seeing when I put blanket slash portfolio loan and bridge loan into this box right here, this is telling the system that this borrower email field will only show up on applications where a borrower has selected the blanket portfolio loan or a bridge loan. It will not show up on any of the other loan program applications. And so you want to be really careful to make sure that if it's it's a field like this, like the borrower email, that you do want to show up on all your loan program applications. You can either delete them by clicking on these red X's to remove them from that field, or you could just click on this box right here, clear loan programs, and that will remove all the loan programs that you have in that box right there. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that if it's a field that you want on all loan program applications, keep that box empty. If you put any loan programs in that field or that box, then the system will only show that question that field on those loan program applications. But that shows you how you can control what type of questions you have on certain loan program applications and versus others. All right, so you can customize that. And also I want to show you at the very, very top over here, we have some search functions here, which are very helpful, as you're going through and editing your applications. You've got a lot of sections that you could kind of scroll through here when you're trying to look for a section to edit, right? There's a lot. So if you know what section you want to jump in and edit, let's say we're scrolling through this application and we're saying, okay, we want to edit the additional questions section. Instead of coming in here and scrolling and looking for the additional questions, right? I could scroll through this and keep scrolling, looking for that section, or I can just come up here to the search bar underneath the section right here, and I could start typing additional questions, right? I don't even need to finish typing it out, and the options are showing down below. So it's showing me additional guarantors or the additional questions, and I'm looking for the additional questions section. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to go over here to the filter button, click on that. And what's going to happen down below is it's going to remove all the sections except for the section that I want to jump in and start editing. So it's a really quick way to just find the section that you want, open up the drop down, and be able to jump right in and start editing, making all the edits that you want to make to that specific section. All right. Same thing with fields. If there's a certain field, specific field that you want to go in and edit, you can just start typing that specific field name here and select it from the drop down that shows up here. And then let's say you select this, then you hit the filter button. Now it's just going to show you that section where that field is located. So you can open up that section and it's just going to show you that field. So this you're only going to use this if there's only one specific field that you want to edit. It's only going to show you one field, but if there's more fields in that section, it's not going to show it to you. So you would use the section search function if you wanted to see all the options that are shown for the whole section and to be able to edit those. So the field name is just used when you want to edit one specific field. All right. And so the last thing I want to show you on this page right here is this button. It says example web form with all the fields enabled. So if you click on that button, it's going to open up a just a long application that serves no purpose other than to show you all the available fields that you can use in LendingWise. So it's just one giant long application. You can see how long it is based off of this side scroll bar right there. But you can come in here and just see all the questions. You know, some people like to see this, they're more visual. They like to be able to see all the options of what they could use if they turned on all the fields in each section. It's kind of helps you figure out what fields you want to turn on or turn off as well. So you do have that available to you if you need to just go through, and you can open this up, and you can also do like a control F to do a search to look for a certain field that you're looking for. That's just, as opposed to going in and looking through each individual form field section there. All right.